The number of people that have told me during this heat wave we've had this week that they have heat stroke every single summer is not okay. And says a lot of things about our industry, I think, that we really should be a little bit more mindful. And so today we're going to be talking about the difference between salt and electrolytes, how to keep yourself from overheating, how to know when to stop and when to push through. And then for our horses, the same, how to keep them hydrated and prevent heat-related illness for our horses, as well as what to do if you suspect those things might be coming up. I'm going to be answering all of those questions in just the next few minutes, so please stick with me. But I want to say first and foremost, I am not a vet or a doctor, so anything that is medical in nature, please always defer to the appropriate medical professional, your doctor, your vet. If this is about children, if you have a child that rides, definitely defer to your pediatrician. I also will say I am a certified sports nutrition coach, so I do have some training in this. So, okay, let's go. Let's start with the people. So for us humans, we can get a lot of heat related illness. I actually have right now like a heat rash on my entire body, like arms, legs, belly, back, everything is covered in heat rash. The best thing for heat rash is to stay cool. Unfortunately, in my line of work, I don't have that luxury. I am outdoors most of the time. Where I'm located here in Southern California, it's not typical to have covered arenas or any kind of indoor like lounge or space or anything. So our barn, everything is outdoors, which is great because most of the year that's fine. But when we have these heat spikes like we've had this week, it's kind of intolerable. And there's not really any way to get away from it. So the best thing I can say is to hydrate. We've all heard you need 8 cups of water a day. That's actually not a great number because it's really different depending on who you are, how much you eat. You can get hydration from your food. If you're eating a lot of water-rich fruits and vegetables, you're actually getting hydration from those. It's also a myth that coffee and tea are dehydrating. If you drink them in excess, they absolutely are, but in small amounts, they're not actually as dehydrating as we think. However, the best hydration is water. So when you're working hard outdoors, so if you're an athlete, okay, this is the other big point that I always forget to mention. We spend so much time telling the world that our sport is indeed a sport, right? That riding is a sport. We defend this all the time. But we forget that if riding is a sport, that means that you are an athlete and you need to be treating your body as such. So you need to hydrate like an athlete, not like somebody who goes on leisurely walks outside or your friend who has a desk job and goes to the gym. You are an athlete who does a strenuous, physically demanding sport, maybe daily, maybe weekly, whatever your case may be, outdoors in the elements. This poses a lot of stress on our bodies, and we need to be hydrating like that, like an athlete that works outside. So if you are somebody who actually works with horses and you're out here all day long, your hydration strategy is going to be really different than somebody who comes out for a 1 hour lesson once a week or twice a week, or even has their own horse and is riding for an hour every day. If you are outside, okay, we're going to take this in pieces. So no matter who you are, however much water you're losing in sweat, you need to replace at least 1.5 times in drinking. So the best way to do this is actually to weigh yourself and make sure that you're not losing weight in water. So you could weigh yourself before you ride and then after weigh yourself again and do the math to figure out how much water you need. I think this is a little bit excessive, especially for people like us that are outside all the time, and it might not be totally practical to weigh yourself before and after every ride. So instead, all you need to do is just drink to thirst. But the big thing is, if you're dehydrated, you may not be as thirsty as you should be to replenish that because your body actually might be telling you don't need water as a preservation mechanism, which is wild and crazy. But what you need to be doing is hydrating before, during, and after your exercise with lots and lots and lots of water. I find in the summertime, I often will easily drink a gallon of water in a day. No problem. I am, granted, outside all day long. So again, if you're just coming for a 1 hour lesson, you may not need that much. But certainly during your 1 hour lesson, there's no reason you should be drinking less than about a liter of water before and after, immediately before and after your lesson. Now, the other piece to this is that water alone is not hydrating. We used to drink mineral water from the stream and eat more mineral-rich foods. And so we were getting electrolytes from our food and water sources. Now we are drinking filtered, purified water, and even the mineral water from the store is not as mineralized as it should be. And so we need to be getting, and we're eating food that's grown in nutrient deficient soils. And so we need to be getting these electrolytes from somewhere. In the vast majority of cases, I learned this today, actually really interesting, and I'll link some sources for this below. But squeeze a juice of a whole entire lemon and a quarter teaspoon of salt and a spoonful of honey might actually be enough to replace your electrolytes. However, in cases like mine, where I'm outside all day long, sweating all day long, you may need something a little bit more heavy duty. So I actually use Element packets. I'm not sponsored by Element or anything, but I do use those. It's 1,000 milligrams of sodium, which is a lot. And it's also really hefty on the potassium and magnesium. These are really important electrolytes to help balance your body's ability to actually absorb and use the water that you're drinking. So if you're drinking a ton of water and you're still feeling thirsty and you're not really seeing the change in your hydration levels, you probably need more electrolytes. So try that. And the important thing about this is salt is not the only electrolyte. Salt is one of the electrolytes, but there are actually many, many of them. The big ones being potassium, magnesium, and calcium. And we also need these because we lose them in our sweat. And so we need to be replacing them when we sweat. So don't get that confused. It's not just about salt on a margarita and now you're good to go. You actually might need a little bit more than that. So think about that next time you're trying to hydrate. Okay, so how do we know that you are properly hydrated? There's a couple ways. One is you can check your capillary refill time. If you have painted nails like mine, this is gonna be a lot harder. You can check your gums as well. And all you're gonna do is press and hold and then release. And you're gonna wait to see how long it takes for the color to come back in that capillary. If it's any more than 2 seconds, that indicates dehydration. So that means you need to drink more. In our horses, we check this on their gums. So you can actually try this on your horse today. You can just press, indent into their gum until it turns white and then remove your finger and count how many seconds it takes for that gum to come back to its normal tissue color. And if it's anything more than 2 seconds, we are concerned about dehydration. So some things to think about. Another way we can tell for ourselves is with our urine. Now, this is the tricky one, is everyone thinks that the color that the urine is in the toilet is indicative of hydration or dehydration, but actually that's not true because now your urine is diluted with toilet water. So it's actually the color that your urine is straight out of your body, which can feel a little bit gross to test. But if you really wanted to find out, all you would do is urinate into some kind of white container, catch a little bit of your urine like you do at the doctor, and you can immediately throw that container away if it grosses you out or whatever. But that's the color that we're looking for when we're checking for hydration. And I'll link some resources for that below as well with a little bit more in-depth guide. But essentially, we want our urine to be a really, really light yellow or even clear. And that's telling us that we're well hydrated. So what can happen if we're dehydrated? A few things, or overheated, either. A few things can happen. One is, like me, you can get a heat rash, which actually mine's pretty well resolved right now, but I'll take a picture later if it comes back. But it's just like little tiny bumps. You can see a little bit there, maybe little tiny bumps all over my body. And that just is because I got a little bit overheated a couple days ago and my body trapped some sweat in the pores instead of releasing it. And that caused those little tiny bumps. It's very itchy and uncomfortable. We can also get very lightheaded, nauseous, feel weak. We can have muscle cramps, digestive issues. All of these things can indicate dehydration and need to be taken very, very seriously. Severe dehydration can cause vital organ damage and even can lead to passing out, fainting, vomiting, any of these things. Very, very serious. We want to be really careful to avoid those things. So if you suspect that you're overheating or dehydrated, the first thing you want to do is wet the inside of your wrist. This is going with cold water or ice. This is going to cool down your entire body. All of the blood within your body flows through your wrist in a very rapid amount of time. And so if you can cool down your wrist, you can cool down your entire body, reduce your body temperature. You can also do this on the neck as well. You can put an ice pack or cold wet bandana around your neck. And this will help to reduce your body temperature immediately. Then it's small but very frequent amounts of fluid. Once you're already in a state of dehydration, if you just chug water, it's most likely actually just going to flow through you because your body doesn't have enough time to absorb it as it moves through your digestive system. So much better to be taking little sips very, very frequently until you catch back up. About 4 ounces every 15 minutes is the ideal. And until your body catches back up to hydration, plus electrolytes. Adding those electrolytes in is really important. If you can eat a little bit of something salty, maybe some tortilla chips or some salty popcorn, something to help get some food and a little bit of salt into your body too, that's really helpful. and then cooling off as fast as you can. If you can just get into the shade, that's okay. If you can get into a car with air conditioning, that's even better. If you can go home and lay down with your feet up and your air conditioning blasting and even like take all your clothes off, that's the ideal. So the more we can cool off our body and reduce our body temperature, the better we're going to be. So those are the steps if you think you're already overheating or dehydrated. If you want to prevent, the best thing you can do is start hydrating yesterday. So how you hydrate today is going to impact you tomorrow. So making sure you're drinking tons of water, you're eating lots of fresh, juicy fruits and vegetables, different things to help increase your body's water content. That's going to help you a lot. And then staying cool. So a straw hat is great because I get a little bit of ventilation on my head, but I also have shade. Loose fitting. This is an athletic performance shirt, so it's dry wicking. It's helping to prevent my heat rash by pulling the sweat away from my body instead of leaving it there to clog my pores. Very loose fitting or very lightweight materials. There are a lot of new technology in clothing where they have more like cooling and summer clothing specifically for equestrians. This is great. It's definitely not necessary. You can also just wear like a really light long sleeve cotton shirt, light colored and light in fabric density, and really light pants, and that will help. I also like to wear sneakers with my ankles exposed because I find that really helps rather than having tall boots. Not while you're riding for safety, but when you're just cruising around the barn, that can be really helpful. So those are some things to think about. And then that wet bandana trick on the neck is one of my absolute favorites. I just wet a bandana in the hose and I put it on my neck and I refresh it once every hour or so. And that seems to really help keep my body temperature down immensely. So those are the big things, the big key takeaways for humans. Now let's talk about our horses. So we already talked a little bit about the fact that salt is an electrolyte, but it is not all of the electrolytes. Horses, like humans, need salt in their diet every single day in order to maintain normal body function. So our horse should be getting about 2 ounces of salt every day. Now, this is another big myth. A lot of people give their horse a salt block and call it good. Most of those salt blocks, first of all, are formulated for cattle, not horses, so read the label very carefully. Number 2, most horses will lick a salt block until their tongue is raw and still not be getting enough salt for their minimum daily requirements. So I do sometimes give my horses a salt block, but I also make sure that they always have loose salt in their buckets every day. About 2 tablespoons generally is what I do for my horses. Obviously, smaller horses, I do less. Horses in heavy work, sometimes I'll do a little bit more. And also, in addition to that daily salt in all weather and all conditions, they always have that salt. In addition to that, I also am giving my horses pre-formulated horse electrolytes on days that they sweat. So on really hot days, and then also on any day that they travel or that they have any kind of stress or really hard workout, they get a scoop of electrolytes in their bucket as well. And this helps to make sure that we're getting the magnesium, the calcium, and the potassium covered. If you're not sure about your horse's electrolytes, just flip it over and read the label. If it's just straight up salt, that's not the one. Don't fall for the marketing on that one. Salt is also important, but we need to make sure we're getting those other critical minerals back into our horse after a hard workout. If our horses, the other important thing about dehydration is, so where we are here, we have these metal automatic waters for all of our horses. Some of our horses are not patient enough for it to refill, so they'll take a little sip and then they'll walk away and they won't come back and drink more. And some of them don't like when it gets kind of stagnant and hot. And so I am very attentive to which horses don't get enough to drink out of the auto water alone. And those horses get an additional bucket, which we refill every single day with fresh water. So pay attention to your specific horse and make sure that the water that you're offering them is palatable, because some horses would rather not drink nasty water and be dehydrated than risk drinking water that doesn't taste good to them. So know your horses. How we know if our horses are dehydrated or what happens if they get dehydrated or overheated. So when we're riding our horses, their body temperature is hotter than ours. So some horses can be more sensitive to heat than we can. So I don't ride any horses at all if it's over 95 degrees. If it's really humid and hot, I'll even cut that off earlier, 90 or even 85 if it's also humid. And also just to note too, like your horse might acclimate to different temperatures. So if you're like where I am in the world, it's always humid and over 95. Well, your horse is probably more acclimated. So this isn't a one size fits all rule, but for where I am, I think it's very, very dry. If it's over 95, we just don't ride that day. If it's over 90, we do a light ride. But I'm the whole time paying attention to, does this horse is this horse sweating profusely? Are they not sweating at all when they should be? A lot of people are like, my horse doesn't sweat. It's so great. And like that actually is a huge red flag. If your horse doesn't sweat when they're working hard, it's actually not because they're just like amazing and they don't sweat. It's actually because they have an electrolyte imbalance. And so that horse, more than anybody, needs electrolytes and water. That horse is severely dehydrated coming into the workout, which is bad news. So making sure your horse is sweating a little bit, but not too much, and that they're not showing any signs of being disoriented or feeling extra lethargic or anything like that. And if they are feeling that way, we end the ride early, take the horse for a hose down, and go through our cooling steps. So for the horse, the cooling steps are a little bit different. If it's over like 90, 95 degrees, we actually don't want to hose our horses down, especially if they're going to be in the sun, because the sun will actually heat the water on their backs and turn it to steam, and it can actually burn their skin. So we don't want to hose our horses when it's that hot. But what I do is hose with a cold hose the underside of their neck. And you want to run the hose for a minute to make sure it's not hot water coming out, and hose the underside of their neck to get their jugular and their carotid. And those, hosing that just like the insides of our wrists, will cool their entire body in just a matter of minutes. So that's a really key one. And then we do want to offer them water immediately, but not food. So being really careful to not offer food when your horse is dehydrated, but certainly offering water. Sometimes I'll make like a tea with some molasses and some salt or electrolytes mixed in with the molasses and the water in a big bucket. And sometimes that'll entice a horse to drink that isn't already inclined to. And then we're just going to watch them really, really closely and make sure that they don't have any secondary issues. So other issues that can arise, even if your horse doesn't acutely overheat, would be tying up. So that's any kind of muscle cramping, and this can actually cause permanent muscle damage. So if you suspect your horse is tying up, this is a 911 vet call, and a tube of electrolytes in the mouth. I always keep a tube of electrolytes on hand just in case I need it. And then we're also going to make sure that our horse has plenty of access to water, and then follow your vet's instructions, whatever your vet tells you to do. The other one that is a big one in this kind of unseasonably hot heat wave is colic. So we already had 2 horses colic in the last few days here that I'm aware of. A lot of times horses will colic like at night or something, and we're not even aware it happened, and they just resolve it on their own. But in this kind of weather, the big colic we're concerned about is any kind of dehydration colic, which could cause an impaction. So we want to be really, really careful about our horses, making sure that everybody's eating and pooping and drinking and peeing every single day. And if there's any question that that's not happening, again, 911, call to your vet, get them on call, ready to come out for whatever the next step may be. Okay, so those are the big ones for our horse. And let's see, what did I forget? Prevention for our horses. So one prevention technique is to ride really early in the morning or late at night when it's less hot out. Another great prevention technique is wetting the underside of their neck. Once again, you can hang box fans in stalls or hang misters. That can really help to bring down the temperature. If you're indoors, if you're outdoors, just making sure your horse has ample shade and ample cold water to drink is great. I have seen some various like cooling sprays and gels on the market throughout the years, and I've actually had some decent success with some of them, but they never really seem to stick around for very long. So I don't know if they're just like not popular and that's why they're not very easy to find. But I have found even just like a little bit of a liniment and putting that on the underside of my horse's neck, sort of like an icy hot, can really help to cool them off too sometimes. And then just making sure that they have some gentle movement. So going for a light walk or having a light turnout, just for even a few minutes, because when like us, like you can see how swollen I am, like my rings are like totally stuck on my hand from the heat. Our horses can also swell up in the heat and their circulation can suffer. So making sure that we're giving them light movement, even if it's not a full-on workout. Okay, I dumped a lot on you. I hope that that was helpful. I hope that now you have a better understanding of electrolytes versus salt and what to do if you or your horse or your friend overheats, and how to go about prevention of overheating and dehydration and all of those things. There's lots of links and resources below, so make sure you check out all of those. And if you have any other questions, leave them in the comments and I will do my best to answer them. And until next time, make sure to hug your horse for me.